As a business owner or entrepreneur or self-employed individual, do you often feel like you're out of balance? Do you feel like you give everything to your business and then your health suffers? You're working too many hours and then you've got no time for your wife or your kids. You're constantly anxious, stressed, frustrated, overwhelmed, worried because there is no balance. There is no time management and you're lacking prioritization in order to be able to move your business, your life and your income forwards to achieve whatever your definition of success is. I'm being asked a lot by followers on social media, by clients, by people at events, how do I manage my lifestyle? My name's Gary Das and I've been a business owner since 2006. I spent 10 years building a business that I hated where it had no balance. I was always focusing on health, but then my business suffered. I'd work too many hours and then my lifestyle would suffer. But since 2016, I've transformed and changed everything. I now have multiple businesses, multiple teams, 7-figure turnovers, and I have more time than ever. Balance comes at the end of some form of sacrifice. So I want to share with you some strategies and tactics that work for me. A bit of a day in the life of, so that hopefully you can take some of these and implement them into your own life so that you can get more income and more time. So let's do a typical day in the life of, because there will be some strategies and tactics and routines and habits that I leverage and utilize all the time without even thinking. So first things first is getting prepared the night before. I always go to the gym at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's my me time. I'm a dad with 4 kids. I've got a wife. So it's really important that I set my day up focusing on me first. Now you may think that's selfish, but if you're not in the best mental and physical state, how can you be the best person for your family and for your team when you go into that business? So I would and have always sacrificed sleep in order to make sure that I look after me in the early mornings where I've needed to. When we've had another child, sometimes I may get up at 5 and go to the gym at 5 o'clock to be home in time to help out. Now the kids are a little bit older, 6 o'clock is my get up time, 6:30 is in the gym. But that starts the night before. 2 things that I do the night before every single day is review my checklist from that day and try and think of what needs to get done tomorrow. I'm somebody that loves a notepad and I love little bullet point lists and I tick things off as I go. I review that the night before and equally get everything ready to start my day the next day. My waters are ready and in the fridge. My supplements are out and on the side in the kitchen. My shorts and t-shirt and socks are all ready by the end of my bed to just grab them, go downstairs, get ready and go. And the 30 minutes that I have prior to going to the gym is about having a coffee, it's about getting a litre of water in me, and it's about making sure that, I've done an initial check of some of the things from the night before on my phone, emails, social media, notifications, and probably a story or 2 on Instagram as well. The non-negotiable for me every morning is that workout. Sometimes it might just be a walk for an hour. Always hitting my steps is another metric that I manage and monitor through the Apple Watch to make sure that I'm getting enough movement. I do a desk job. So getting up and moving every single day not only maintains a healthy weight, but it also gives me time to think and have brain space. Because if we're constantly living in our businesses, then we don't get any time to think about working on our businesses. So that first thing in the morning, often in the gym, I have earphones in, but I'm not playing anything. I just do it as a distraction to stop people talking to me. It means if someone does talk to me, I can choose to ignore them because I've got my music playing, which I haven't. But it's allowing me to think. It's allowing me to process the day before, to process the day that we're moving into, to just be with my own thoughts from a mindfulness or meditation perspective, whilst lifting weights, whilst running, whilst having some kind of gym split. So that covers a bit of mental, but equally physical. Focusing on those 2 things first is an absolute priority. But one of the simplest hacks that I've always had, and you may consider this boring, is I eat roughly 5 to 6 times per day. 4 of those meals are exactly the same. My breakfast, my 10 o'clock, my 1 o'clock, and my 3 o'clock. Dinner is then the meal that's variable with my family. The reason why is if you put diesel into a petrol engine, what happens? The car breaks. It also means that I never have to think about food, and I love food. So I will make a whole rack of bolognese for the week. I'll get chicken and just cook chicken breast and have it with veg. You may deem that as boring, but it keeps me efficient, it keeps me energized. It means I know the food that I'm eating, thus performing at my best in all areas of life. Having balance is sometimes sacrificing that, and having that consistency through the day does mean that I can eat a dinner of whatever I fancy and whatever the family want to have. So I will always sacrifice in one area to make freedom and time and flexibility in another area. So let's get into the work side of things. So my typical working day is somewhere between 8:30 in the morning roughly through till 4:30, 5 o'clock. Now I'm somebody who likes to work when there's work to be done. So I might work a little bit on the sofa of a weekend. I might finish early like I did yesterday because my wife has to go out and cut hair because she is a self-employed hairdresser, and I've got the 4 kids to look after. So I work when I need to more than anything else. But importantly, I don't technically have to work. Of course, I do monthly events for our coaching clients, which I deliver, so I have to do those days, but my brokerage works systemized and automated. There's team and income that will be driven without me having to do very much other than align the team. The training business, we have the right people in the right seats, a videographer, a head of operations, a head of client success, which frees me up to focus on my superpowers of the strategy, the live events, what they need to be taught. And it helps me to focus on building new relationships, new partners, creating content such as this. But it hasn't always been that way. It's been about leveling up and getting rid of tasks and delegating in order to be able to move up the ladder per se and get people better than me doing specific tasks and actions that they need to. So if you don't currently have a team, you have to do everything, which is why it's really important to think about the 4 key areas of business: marketing, sales, admin, finances. I used to do a finance Friday when I was a self-employed individual. I would always do my admin typically between 2 and 4 p.m. because it was my lowest energy point during the day, which meant I would do my sales and marketing first and then sales at every other point, before admin and after admin right into the evenings. As you then recruit your first person, you can delegate some of that administration and maybe some of the finances out, which gives you more time to focus on the marketing and the sales. So much like my gym and much like my eating times, I'm a very ritual, routine and habitual person. So marketing is the lifeblood of every business. It has to come first. Get your highest priority work done in the morning. And let's look at this as an analogy. If you were to get a big glass and you were to go out and get some reasonably sized rocks and put those rocks into that glass or that jar, let's use a jar, half decent tall jar. If we were to put some half decent golf ball sized rocks into that jar, you would only get a certain number in. That is your highest priority tasks. They have to be done first. They're the non-negotiables. They're the income generating activities. They're the ones that make your business the most amount of money. Once we put those big rocks in and we've tackled those, now we can start to go and get some little pebbles. So those are the things that are, slightly lesser priority, need to get done, but they're not highly important. They're not transformational, but they are transactional. You need to submit that invoice. You need to do that administration. You need to follow up with that particular client. They go in next. That's your next level of work that you have to do. Then you might put sand in. And these are all the tiny little grains of all the little things that are just there. Most of these, as you level yourself up in business, you begin to delegate. But that goes in the afternoon. That stuff, you go as late as possible. You go in your lowest energy point. You go in the point where it has no impact on your business whatsoever. And then there's even still some room for water. Water will still go into that jar and we'll still fill that right up to the top. And now we have a fully complete jar. And we've still got a little bit of room. We've got some space for some water. So now we'll just fill that jar all the way up to the top. And the water is really those things that are leftovers. They're bonuses. They're the nice things to get ticked off, but they're not either transactional and they're not really transformational, but they're just the things that need to get done because there's always stuff that needs to get done in business. That's the 10% of what we're realistically left with. So if you start to prioritize and organize your day based on the size of the tasks, and some of those, the bigger the task, you can often remove 4 or 5 little ones. Structure your day, organize how you work, and prioritize what needs to get done. You can do, you can delegate, or you can delete. Task management and time management is absolutely key. And one of the things that I've come to be very good at is time and task management more than anything else. You know, the Pomodoro effect, for example, where you set in a certain amount of time and then you go and take a break. For me, I almost have task time. Like, I will sit there and finish that task before I will go and get my next meal or before I will go to the toilet, which sometimes is a bit of a challenge. But it's about finishing that task, then stepping away, going and having a break. Like in the gym, you can't consistently always sprint all the time or lift weights constantly. You have to have a rest before you do your next set. It's exactly the same in business. If you focus on task management, then you'll have better time management. Now, it wasn't always that way. You know, in 2018, I was still working up to around about 7, 8 o'clock in the evening because I thought I had to. Because that's what I had always done. I hadn't learned to work smart rather than working hard. But in 2018, I had a 6-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old daughter. And it suddenly dawned on me around about the August that I'm sitting in the office when we could have been having dinner as a family at home. And that was a pivotal moment in my business journey and in my life when I said no more. I will finish at 5 o'clock, I will be home for 5:30, and ever since then, as much as possible, in almost 6 years now at the time of recording, I've been at home 5 o'clock, 5:30 every evening to have dinner as a family. At that time, I only had 2 people on my team, someone in marketing to help drive new leads into the business, which freed me up to focus on sales, and a PA/administrator to help with everything after the sale and delivering on the promises that we had made. If you're a self-employed individual and you employ nobody, you might as well be an employee because you've just created yourself another job. You are responsible for absolutely everything that goes on in your business. So if you want to step out of self-employment and actually have time, then you need to create team, and that team is having a PA that can answer the phone, that can support you, that you can delegate certain tasks, sand and small pebbles too. The final thing to reference is chunking time. You know, everything in my calendar rules my life. So the gym is in there, time with the family is in there, cinema, date nights, that all goes in the calendar first. And then I build my business around that. Some days I may work more than others, depending on what's going on and what the priorities are and what support my team need. But if you don't first sit down and say, what's non-negotiable? What do I want for me? And then how do I craft a business around that? Then you're always going to feel trapped and stuck. And most importantly, I think is hugely underestimated is the nutrition, is the amount of water that you drink, is having a consistent bedtime every night. I'm in bed by 10 o'clock, and then that will give you the consistent wake up time. You'll need to work out what your circadian rhythm is, i.e. when you should go to bed and when you should get up. But once you nail that and you get your nutrition right, your health right, your mentality right, everything else will naturally take care of itself. And then it's being insanely disciplined. When things go wrong, shit happens. You just realign and reset and go again the next day. It's about progress over perfection. So I hope this inspires you and helps you in some way, shape or form. I haven't got it all figured out, even though it may sound like I have. I still have bad days, I still have good days, I still, have ups and downs. Some things work, some things don't. But the most important thing is having that foundational routine across my mental, physical, financial and family well-being and lifestyle that then enables me to put the time, energy and effort into those businesses. But if you don't first sit down and work out what you want and when you want it by and have the right support to get there, then you're always going to feel stressed out and challenged. Thanks very much indeed for tuning in.